Imagine this. You walk up to your regular pani puri stall in Bengaluru. You finish eating, take out your phone, and say, "Brother, should I GPay you?" But instead of scanning a QR code, he says, "No UPI, only cash." And it's not just him. From juice vendors to auto rickshaws, across Bengaluru, street vendors are refusing UPI. Why? Because some of them just received tax notices of up to 29 lakh rupees. Yes. 29 lakh rupees. This is the story of how India's most celebrated digital payment system, UPI, is now being feared by the very people it was meant to empower. It involves a misunderstood law, a sudden wave of panic, and a serious question for India's digital economy. Let's break it down. The problem began when Karnataka's Commercial Taxes Department issued GST notices to thousands of small traders. Their reason? They saw large UPI transaction amounts flowing into these vendors' accounts. According to the department, if your annual turnover exceeds 20 lakh rupees for services or 40 lakh rupees for goods, you must register for GST. And if you're not registered, you're evading taxes. Simple, right? But here's the twist. Most of these vendors used personal UPI IDs, and they weren't just receiving business payments. They were also getting money from friends, family, rent settlements, and even personal loans. So when the tax department saw 1.6 crore rupees worth of UPI transactions, they assumed it was all business revenue. That's how a flower vendor, who barely makes 1,000 rupees a day, ended up with a 29 lakh rupees tax demand. For these vendors, this wasn't just shocking, it was terrifying. They don't have accountants. They don't separate business and personal accounts. And they definitely don't understand GST laws. So what did they do? They took the simplest route possible, they removed the QR codes. They stopped accepting UPI. And they went back to cash. Because if there's no digital trail, there's nothing to track. This move triggered a massive debate online. Some salaried people asked, why should we pay taxes and vendors get a free pass? Others threatened to boycott vendors who refuse UPI. And then there were those who understood the deeper issue. They said, you can't treat a street vendor like a corporation. Tax laws need to be fair, but also practical. This wasn't just a tax story anymore. It had become a digital India dilemma. Now, let's talk legal. According to tax experts, just having high UPI credits isn't enough to assume tax evasion. You need invoices, proof of actual sales, and corroborative evidence. And that's where the Karnataka government may have jumped the gun. Instead of first educating these vendors, they began with notices and tax demands. Naturally, panic followed. When the backlash grew, trader associations threatened a 3-day statewide protest. Some planned to stop selling milk and essential items. Others began wearing black armbands. Eventually, the chief minister intervened, and the protest was called off. Now, the government has launched a No GST campaign, aiming to educate small traders instead of penalizing them. But the fear still hasn't fully gone away. This whole story raises a much bigger question. How do we build a digital economy that's also inclusive? UPI has transformed how Indians pay, even at the smallest shops. But when fear enters the system, adoption takes a hit. Vendors return to cash. And India takes a step backward, not forward. We need smarter laws, simpler compliance, and better awareness, not blind enforcement. So the next time your vendor refuses UPI, don't just be angry. Try to understand why. Because between QR codes and cash lies a much bigger battle, between progress and policy. If you found this explanation valuable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that decode the Indian economy, one issue at a time.